Yeah, I just wanted to show you what I was doing before I went too far. So I put the bearings in that this morning. So what I did was this outer piece, not the pulley, where the pulley and the shaft was, I put in the refrigerator last night. And this outer piece, I put it outside on my oven. I'll show you that. Then I put the bearings in it and the spacers. And then I took this whole piece here, not the pulley part, and I put it outside in my oven. Got it warm, and I brought the pulley in, and then I was able to take this piece with the bearings and slide it onto the shaft. Of course, I greased the shaft a little bit where the bearings go by. And I greased the inside of the bearings and I slid it on there, and I had to tap it down a little bit. Got the first one on, then when it got to the second one, just kind of wiggle it around, get it to where you could feel it start to go in, and just tap the top, and that went down. Then I took that interlock, that the thread for the inner piece on the shaft, and I tightened it up, and I got it to where it was tight, and then I gave it just a little bit more, and that preloads the bearings. And the piece on the outside, when I put the bearings in there, I just went ahead and tightened that up, and I gave it a couple of small hits with the hammer, and well, using the wrench, I just made sure that was tight. So that piece is all ready. Anyway, I just wanted to, well, what I was saying was that the quill, those serrations in the tube that goes up and down for the quill, those splines, those inner splines, they're inside of here. You can't see them because it's too dark. There they are. See, they don't go down very far. Maybe 2.5 inches. But okay, what I was getting at is a lot of times I hear a noise, and I don't think it was this case. I think this was the bearings, but you hear a noise, and I always assumed it was the the clearance in between these splines that was making this rattling noise. And I knew there's really nothing you could do about it. All you could do is put some oil or grease on. And in fact, when this thing started giving me trouble, I looked at the manual, and it says you're supposed to drop the quill 2 or 3 inches and put oil in that hole so that the quill gets lubricated. I didn't know that. We run machines at work, and we never did that because you got that automatic tool changer on top, and you can't do that. But yeah, they recommend that you drop the quill and you lubricate inside that hole so that the splines get lubrication. And I did that, and it actually quieted it down a little bit, but it didn't make the noise go away. But the other thing that I was over here playing with this, getting ready to put this back together, and this gear that rides against this gear actually makes a noise. So I'm moving this gear, my fingers. And I always thought it was this, and maybe it is a combination of this and that. You know, when you engage the cutter and it's not loaded, you know, these basically freewheel. And then once the cutter engages, you know, then they lock up. But that's something to be aware of. I didn't think about that. I didn't know that made noise like that. Yeah, all these different places noise can come from, and you think it's something. All right. We'll see how far we get. Yeah, this is what I call the oven. It's a empty paint container I have outside the garage. And it's where the sun shines. Yeah. Anything I want heated up, I just put it out here in the sun. It's those bolts, I deburred it, and then I washed them off, and I was just letting them dry out. They're dry. I mean, they were probably dry 2 minutes after they were put there. But it reminds me of that movie, Chronicles of Roderick, where he's chased by some of his former shipmates. Not shipmates. He was in a starship. And then they went to this planet where it's like 1,000 degrees above, and they're in a penitentiary, and it's below the surface. And when the sun comes up, everything evaporates and turns into like dust particles because of that intense heat. That's why nobody escapes from it. But yeah, he was captured, and he got taken there, and of course he escaped. But I mean, that's what going out in the sun reminds me of, is that intense heat. I mean, here in South Florida, it gets hot. So I wanted to show you this. This is the top piece that fits over that. And I just put a little grease on that shaft, put a little grease in there, and you see a rough section in there. That's an undercut they put in there. So they don't have to bore this diameter all the way through. They put an undercut in there that's bigger than this diameter. And that's it. It just, it looks like a score or something, but it really isn't. It's just an undercut. But I wanted... So it sounds pretty good. So I use my hoist to pick that piece from this cart, and I put it down on the ground. I mean, I've been picking it up and putting it down a lot, but since the hoist was here, I wanted to play with it. And it worked out good. You just pull this rope, and you can start to lift it up. You have to keep tension on the rope all the time, or else this will fall. That's the only downside of this. It will come down if you don't keep tension on the rope. But all I'm really hoping for is to pick that motor up. So I put the stuff inside. I put the cover back in, put the cover back on, put the 3 screws in there, then I put the pulley back on, and I snugged that nut up a little tighter than it was before. Before, as soon as I took that tab off, I could loosen that nut with my fingers. So I don't know if it was wobbling a little bit or what it was, but I made it a little bit tighter. I used a little punch and got a little bit tighter, not too tight, just a little bit tighter, to where it's snug and just a little bit. And then I put this together and put this on there, and maybe lift that whole thing up as a unit. Because before, what I did was I took this off, and then I took that off, and I don't know, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I did a little, this is the head for the Enco mill, and I did a little assembly on my lift cart. So I got the head here, and I put the pulleys on, and I put this piece on. Got to put the belts in there first, both of them, and you got to remember to put that little tube in for the oil. Yeah, that goes from the oil cup to this cover. Goes inside that cover. So I put it back together. Everything seems to be working. I don't hear any screeching noise. That's the low gear. And that's the high gear. But everything's looking good. Just got to put this top plate on here, and I guess we'll hoist it up and get it up there, and then got to put the motor on.